My mom was all I had. It was like a figure like leading my life, like who I should be, give me like all the examples of who I want to be. Eventually, unfortunately, she passed away with like everything that they're trying to do. From there, it was a lot of what's next. I was sleeping in my car, posted outside of work, making money.
Why were you hiding that from people, and what was that experience like?
I mean, I didn't want anyone to feel sorry for me. You gotta build up from nothing to something. You can always start from zero and go back to the top. I believe everyone has a discipline, but not everyone has the control for it. If you don't have a reason, find a reason. Get the job done.
Welcome back to the Built Not Born podcast. I'm your host, Tom Mandile.
And I'm your co-host, Thomas Calabrese.
And we are honored and privileged to have as our guest today, Andre Rivera. Thank you for coming on today. So Andre, before we get started and kind of delve into your whole background and the reason why we actually come on today, give us a little bit about yourself, right? Who is Andre Rivera?
Yeah, so now I was sports performance coach down in Edgewater, New Jersey. I had to send athletics. Graduated from Rowan University, finished my master's and bachelor's in exercise science, dual sport college athlete, playing football and wrestling. Finishing my career on a very high note there in terms of athletics, finishing up with a ring, with a banner, completing the...
Let's go back now to cut you off. So go back to the ring. Let's talk about the ring, because that's what everybody plays for, right? For all of our viewers out there, for all of our listeners,
Yeah.
Right? Everybody wants to play for a ring. So what ring did you win?
We won the ECAC Bowl ring, so we were in the top 40 nationally for Division III football. So we were one of the first teams out to miss the playoffs due to other teams making it into the playoffs in our conference. So both Salisbury and Christopher Newport made it, and then we were the first team not making it.
Now, do you have that ring with you today?
Unfortunately, I do not. I keep it nice, tucked away.
You described yourself as unhealthy, arrogant, undisciplined coming into high school. And again, I had the pleasure to not only coach you, but also teach you in the classroom.
1000%.
And I could definitely attest to some of those habits. I remember distinctly you sitting in my class, very kind of standoffish,
Yeah.
Borderline rude to an extent, right? A little bit overweight. Okay, but from your perspective, from where you are now, and the transformation that you had is phenomenal. I know I have to thank myself and myself only for this. No, I'm just kidding.
That was
But I definitely remember, you and I getting into the workouts and me really trying to steer you into the weight room and kind of dropping some knowledge on you about nutrition and working out, like the benefits of it. And here you are today, kind of paying it forward to all the future athletes. So,
Yeah.
But let's go back to that Andre Rivera in high school.
Yeah, so in high school, coming into high school, I was about 285 pounds. In terms of grades, that was a huge one that I didn't care about or really understand any of it until coming into high school. I was like an average C, D student, just trying to get through class, just do work, get it by, not really actually do any work, just show up, do what I got to do, get out, and then playing video games. But then from there, I had a lot of friends, family, even like other coaches from other sports teams saying, try football, try something new, go into high school, be active, get out the house. And my best friend that I would play video games with all the time, he decided to play football. And I just was like, okay, sure, why not? Be with my friend, just take a leap of faith, take a shot, and then just hop in on it. Had no idea about anything with football. Didn't know any sports to begin with at all. I would just play soccer recreationally, just going around.
Well, that's great for a lot of our viewers and our listeners, because there are so many kids out there today who don't give sports a chance or don't give an opportunity. And you're living proof that because of your friends, because they got you out, now look at what sports has done for your life, right? So not only have you excelled in high school and kind of transcended that into college, but now you're sitting here with a ring and you're working down at a fitness gym down in Edgewater, correct?
Yep.
Okay, excellent.
Your mom was working 2 jobs just to keep the lights on. And as a kid, what did watching that do to you and your mentality?
That was a lot, honestly. At first, I didn't really understand it growing up. You just sit in the house, you're just going to school, coming back, and just waiting and sitting. And as an only child, too, you kind of get caught up in your own thoughts a lot of,
Yeah.
all right, you got no one else around you, you got no one really to talk to. You're just hanging, sitting, waiting. And you miss or want to have that connection with your mom or a parent. With not having your father in the picture and the mom's always at the house working 2 jobs, you're just dealing with the day-to-day mental battle that you don't even understand that you're dealing with until as you get much older, then you understand that she was putting in hours and hours, day in and day out, just to make sure I'm living the best life possible, keeping me smiling and everything.
Now let's talk about that, because you mentioned a very important fact there about you being by yourself, that your mom working 2 jobs. no father figure in the picture. How did you self-motivate yourself? Because there are a lot of athletes out there and students, right? Besides take away the athletic side of it, that don't really have a parent in the household. So who motivated you for where you are today to help you become that person?
That's a great question. I think ultimately I had to become my biggest motivation for my own self. So I was motivated by the fact of the entire situation that I was in, at the fact that I got nothing, but I got goals. So from there, I got to build myself up from nothing into something and kind of take it in and day out, building those little goals, smart goals, or big thing that kind of get preached as you get older too and you start learning about. And then from there, really developing that mindset that you have no other option but to do the work. Like, if you don't have a reason, find a reason, get the job done. There's other people competing, other people finding reasons and ways to get into a spot that you want to be at. Why can't you?
So you can either make an excuse why you can't do something or you find a reason why you can.
Exactly.
Obviously, it seems like you definitely found a reason why you can. And again, that's a testament to your mindset and your work ethic, which is awesome.
I actually have a question for you. Just like listening to, what you've been saying,
Yeah.
how much independence did you learn from, the fact that your mom was working 2 jobs, you're an only child, you were at home all the time, saying like all you had was you and your thoughts and, it was mentally, draining. So independence, like how much independence did you learn through that period of time?
Oh, that made me into my own little man of the house, like when your mom comes home is like, you got to be the man of the house, and you hear it jokingly, but then it really turns
It's
into
a reality.
a reality.
Yeah.
Back 100%. You got to really take on those shoes, put them on, and start taking care of all like the little details, perfecting all the details in much of the house.
What did you learn when you were by yourself in the house? Like, did you learn anything? Did you learn like how to cook, how to clean?
Yeah, cleaning was a big one. Cleaning around because everyone's kind of scattering in and out the house.
There.
So then whenever you're home, you get the time to just clean. Mopping. Mopping's a huge one.
Yeah.
All right. Well, now let me ask you. This is great for everybody who wants to learn how to clean a house, but more importantly, so you were a little bit overweight in high school. So did you have any chubby kid swag and try to throw any parties while mom was out, while when that nobody else was there?
I was a very, very quiet, introverted kid.
Okay.
I was very to myself outside of school, outside of hanging out with friends in school. I would be home to
So you didn't think
myself.
that I have an empty house, like open crib or whatever the teens call it nowadays? I know I'm aging myself.
I don't even know what they call it.
I couldn't tell you.
Okay, that's great. Now, I'm gonna switch topics on a more serious note. So, your mom tragically passed away when you were a senior in high school. So where were you? What happened? And how did that really impact you in the moment?
It started off initially, I got dropped off at school by my mom. I woke her up. I noticed that she was like a little bit tired, whatever. Like, I gotta go to school, so cool. Dropped me off. And then in the middle of the day, I get a text from my aunt. And my aunt's like, I'm taking your mom to the hospital right now. Like, she wasn't answering at the house. She wasn't answering her phone or anything like that. So luckily she had extra key and she was just unresponsive. And then from there, my mom brought her to the hospital. Got picked up from school that day. And then I went over to the hospital to go see her. And then that moment, like when you see your mom in a whole different condition that you don't expect her in, like you kind of just break down. Your mind's running a million different places. You just can't stop crying. Your mind bouncing all over the place. And then from that, things settled down a little bit mentally from just waiting and seeing options with like what's going on with my mom. And then eventually, unfortunately, she passed away with like everything that they're trying to do. But like from there, it was a lot of what's next. I remember at some point after like all the crying went down, after I was able to like, regather my breathing, I remember asking my cousin Billy, I was like, okay, what now? It was what now? Because, that's all I had. It was me and my mom and then my grandma in the house, of course. But my mom was all I had. It was like a figure like leading my life, like embodying what I want, like who I should be, give me like all the examples of who I want to be as a person growing up. But then from that was that switch that I mentioned earlier about of like giving yourself no reason, like no other reason but to do the work. And then I remember I was like, I emailed you that I might not make it to less in the morning.
It's funny because I was gonna mention that because you were always somebody because we back then when you were in high school we had 6 a.m. lifts And I always remember you being one of the first ones there in the gym, for those workouts. And I remember receiving that message, and I said, "This is very, this is unlike you." I said, "Something must be going on." So it kind of triggered something in my mind. And then, shortly thereafter, I find out your mom passed away, and the fact that you're texting me is telling me that you might be late for a workout. Um, and then come to find out that you end up making that workout. I mean, the first thing I did is, as the coach, was, I just wanted to give you a hug. So, like, words, unfortunately, unless somebody walks in those shoes, nobody really knows what you're going through.
100%.
Again, I resonated because, again, I lost both of my parents at a young age. So I kind of, it kind of just had those flashbacks for me personally. So, the first thing I want to do is to console you and just let you know, like, I'm here for you, right?
Yeah.
I could just be an ear to listen to, like, just let you know, like, yeah, I know everybody, a lot of teams, a lot of sports teams out there, they always preach family, but this is when that really hits home, right? Like, not only, you only had your mom, but you had me as a coach and the coaching staff and all of your brothers in that weight room. I just remember everybody just coming up to you when they found out. And, it was just something, one of those moments that me as a coach, that heartbreaking, but to see the support that you had and knew that those kids and those coaches were going to be there for you every step of the way. I definitely feel like, that was a great support system for you to have.
1000%.
So, and if you could just kind of talk about that a little bit about, do you have any recollection of that, or like that first day when you came back to school, or?
Yeah, that first day back at school, it was definitely a lot. You know, you don't really know what you're doing, but you're kind of just on automatic. You're just on autopilot, just doing what you got to do. You come in, do the workout, try to keep it as normal and as regular as possible to keep the routine, keep the structure, because that's what kind of got instilled into me, over the years in high school, that you got to have that structure. So
Yeah, and that's really a credit to your mom, right? Looking down at you. I'm sure she's looking down at you right now, sitting in this chair, so proud of her baby boy, because she made you into that young man, right?
Yep.
Like, nobody could tell that your mom just passed away, but you were going about business as usual, right? And you're only a junior in high school. I wouldn't wish that upon my worst enemy. And here you are, just operating in class, right? Not shedding a tear, just, mom, if you're listening,
no,
your baby boy's here and he's doing phenomenal things with himself. So, real true testament to you.
thank you.
All right. So from overweight and struggling in school to a 3-sport varsity athlete with a 4.3 GPA, walk us through how that transformation actually happened day by day and what changed first.
The biggest thing that changed first was definitely the mindset and the attitude I had to have going into everything.
Yeah.
At first, it started off as, oh, I got to do this. Oh, I got to go here. I got to do that. I got to get this done. I got to get that. But then I had to have the switch of, I get to do this. I get to show up. I get to be with all my teammates who I consider my family, like all my brothers, like on the mat, on the track, on the field, all of that together. I get an opportunity to not only better myself, but better my teammates and those around me, to all chase one common goal. Because at the end of the day, we're all trying to win. We're all trying to work up the ranks. We're all trying to grow together some way, somehow. So developing that mindset over time and really instilling that into my own lifestyle and how I carried myself, and then having my friends and teammates follow that, that was the biggest change that made me not only improve my life, but start competing with myself.
Yeah.
Because the biggest cliche, but the best cliche that I still live by and a lot of high-level athletes live by is you versus you. Sure, you can be competing on the mat, on the field, with whoever's in front of you, but you're playing your own game. You're in your own lane, your own level. So you compete with yourself day in and day out, like, I got to be better than I was yesterday.
Yeah.
Like, the person I was an hour ago, I got to be better than that.
Mhm.
And I got to be better than that next level in front of me. Like, that next hour, I got to double down even harder than that.
Yeah. I like how you think about things in a positive way, because not a lot of people can do that. A lot of people are very like, when something happens, they kind of like just curl up into a little ball. But I like the way that you think. I like the way how you're so positive, and especially after losing your mom, and just thinking about things in an optimistic and positive way. It's really inspiring. So a lot of people change for a season. How did you make it permanent?
Oh, that's a great one. I love that. It was a lot of not so much motivation, because motivation is very temporary. Like, that's just a piece. You can be motivated by gold.
Were you always self-motivated, or did that come did that come over time? Like, how did that begin?
I wasn't always self-motivated. I felt like there were pieces of me that were, but there's those down parts where it's, I don't want to do anything today. Everyone's going to feel that.
Yeah. That happens to everybody.
1,000%. But when you get to a point where you create those non-negotiables with yourself day in, day out, like, a simple thing is going to work out or going to wake up early. give yourself no other option but to wake up early. You instilled that into your day-to-day. You have the goals. You have the plan. Follow the plan. Trust the process, and it'll pay off over time, day in and day out.
Now, to me, that speaks to your muscle memory too, right? Just like creating those habits, that systems that you put in place, knowing that you want to wake up at a certain time and have those workouts. And then obviously, what your daily routine has to be. So that's why it's great, again, for our viewers and listeners, that somebody who obviously excelled in high school, didn't start off on a strong note, carried it off into college, and now you're going to go off and do great things with your life because of athletics and because of sports. That just kind of speaks to the systems that you put into place. So I think that's tremendous. And now bring us back into the football days, right?
Yep.
So what's one or two lessons that football has taught you to get you to this point today, sitting in this chair?
A big one with football that I learned in college is definitely to not be externally motivated. We talk about motivation before with like getting motivated by just winning and just putting on a jersey. It's so much bigger than that. You got to be motivated by a deeper purpose, because at some point in your life, whether you play pro, just in high school, in college, the game's going to end for you. So being internally motivated by playing with a bigger purpose for yourself, for those around you, you're putting in a lot of pain, a lot of blood, sweat, and tears with so many people around you. And you got to remember that you have that environment, that culture, that brotherhood together.
Well, I want to ask you a couple of things. I want to go back to a high school moment for you in a second. I know Thomas remembers this game because we were speaking about it earlier. But I want to talk about, that connection from high school sports to college, right? Because college is pretty much a job.
Yeah.
You weren't getting paid to play, right? In high school, you're with your friends, you're with kids that you see every day. In college, it's completely different. So just talk about that for all of our viewers and listeners out there, about the biggest difference from high school sports to college, especially at the D3 level, because it's not easy playing D3, right? Because now you're asked to go into a whole new culture, a whole new climate, and you're not with those same teammates every day, right? Now it's almost like a full-time job,
Yeah.
correct? Between the film and the workouts, it's almost
100%.
it's almost a 9 to 5.
Yeah.
Without the true 9 to 5, it almost becomes like a 6 to 6 in a
Yeah.
way. So just kind of speak with that briefly about that biggest difference between high school to college sports.
Yeah, so high school sports, you probably have film with the team maybe once or twice a week, and then you have one or two lifts maybe in the week throughout the season, and then you just got to practice at the end of school. Real simple, real clear cut, right? College football, my wake up is at 4:30 a.m. First lift is at 5, meeting at 6, another meeting at 7, get to the team house by 8, get on the field at 8:30, from 8:30 to 11, practice. After that, treatment again. After that, meetings. After that, mobility. Then we got class. And then you got like throwing the meals in between that.
So that's a full-time job basically.
Your
That's
day of athletics is probably done by fully 8 p.m.
Now let me ask you. So what motivates you to stay with it though? Because I'm just hearing that, I'm like, wow. I'm like that's pretty much like your whole college experience.
You got to be obsessed to do that.
Yeah.
Like you can't just like I don't know. Like if you're not really obsessed about it and you really like you're just doing it for fun, like it's not gonna work. You got to really be obsessed to make it a full-time job, especially in college. So
Yeah, you got to fall in love with the process.
Yeah.
Because the game is such a small piece of it. You're practicing all year round. You're training all year round to be the best version of yourself on and off the field. So when you really just trust that grind, the season's 3 to 4 months long max, and then all year round you're just training. When you love the grind, when you love the hustle, when you love being on the field, and you love that change that you see, that got instilled for me back in high school, all the little habits that I built up with like my teammates, friends, family, building those little habits from back then, doubled down even more in college of, all right, I did all the training here early mornings. I can do it. I get to do it even more and at the collegiate level.
Now I want to touch on a couple things, and again, not to make light of these situations, but I always say, if it doesn't challenge you, it's not going to change you. So you had mentioned to us about being homeless in college and nobody knew, and I didn't even know about it.
Yeah.
So why were you hiding that from people, and what was that experience like?
I mean, I didn't want anyone to feel sorry for me. I'm still the same person I am. I was still me, and I still am me to this day, so.
So where were you sleeping, in the weight room?
In my car.
Okay.
In my car. I was sleeping in my car, posted outside of work, making money, trying to make up what I can, working as a PT aide up in the area, but then kind of moving around. you
Now
know,
you're a pretty tall guy, so when you're sleeping in your car now, you like putting the seat all the way back, or you like laying in the back seat?
playing in the back seat.
Like, what
Doing
kind of
all
car are we
the
talking here? Because I mean, I have a hard time taking a nap in cars. This guy's full blown like having full out sleeps, like, living out of his car.
It definitely
All
sucked,
right,
but
are we meal prepping in the car too? Like, what's the extent of this going on here in the car? Like, are you taking the blankets and like throwing them in the trunk? Like,
I had the
what's
blankets in
happening
the
there?
trunk. I had the pillows laid out. I had everything that I had from my college dorm just laid up, laid down as much as I can, along with all the stuff on one side of my car, like that whole passenger side. I had all of just like storage stuff, like the box, the containers, and then this left side right behind my driver's seat, I got like my bed, my pillow, like whatever snacks I got, just like tucked under the seat. Definitely a time. It was definitely a very humbling experience, which I really embraced to experience to know, because if you don't experience it, you don't understand it. So when you see that side of things, when you get to live that side of things, like unfortunately, but I get to live out and see what it's like to experience that homelessness and build myself back up from that.
Mm.
You're pretty much one of the main reasons what this one of the main reasons what this podcast is about, right? About adversity and overcoming obstacles. I mean, you're talking about losing your mom and about how you start off high school being an introvert, right? Being overweight. Now here you are again, sitting here, phenomenal shape, right? And being able to talk about all these stories and how you overcame them, with the resiliency and the right mindset. So, I mean, you're exactly what the Built Not Born podcast is about. The fact that you were able to transform yourself from all of those things, right? So again, and we've said it to quite a few guests here, but again, you're somebody else that's very fitting for, right? You should be proud of yourself. Like, I know sometimes people overlook those little moments in life, and you need to celebrate your little wins, right? I know some of them are years ago, but you really need to look at yourself as Andre Rivera and say, I want to celebrate this little win. And whatever that celebration could be, it could be like a little look in the mirror, it could be like a little self pat in the back, whatever it may be. But think about how far you've come and how many great things you're going to do with the rest of your life. So it's awesome that, you've accomplished all these things so far.
Can you name one, like, moment that stood out to you in each sport from all, your years in high school?
My first year playing varsity for football, our first game ever playing, like just playing varsity, no clue. You go from playing freshman JV to playing varsity the next year, automatically starting both ways. And playing that game, being down the whole time, and then coming back at the end of it, that was a great one as well.
Who'd you guys play?
We played Ferris out of all teams that we should have smoked, but bottom line is we still came out on top.
But how about the one game that stands out to me? I know Thomas and I were talking about was the Englewood game, the first ever game in Cliffside Park under the lights. I mean, I remember
that. I remember that like it was. Yeah, I was a little kid. I was like, I think I was in like 4th, 5th grade. I remember that entire day in school. I was so excited to go because, like we've never had a game at night in Cliffside, right? Like that was like the first time ever.
It was. And you know what a lot of people don't know about those games? Like, people come up and they'll see the lights and how exciting it was, but they don't know like the massive overtaking it was to get the lights there and get the approvals.
Yeah.
And, thankful for everybody who allowed that game to happen.
Yep.
But on top of that, I'm there like hours before the game filling up the generators with gasoline.
Yep.
I remember smelling like I worked at the gas station. During the day, I remember like looking at the play sheet and like, I still got the gasoline smell on me. So, it's like those little things. But it's those memories. I remember practicing the night before, testing out the lights, and we thought there wasn't enough
You guys
lights, so we
practiced the night before, like at night?
we wanted to try the lights out. So we actually ended up getting 2 more of those light generators.
That was honestly one of the most
So-
packed I've ever seen a Cliffside football game.
Well, tell us about your experience as a fan.
Yo, I remember that entire day. That was a Friday, right?
It was.
Yeah, I remember that entire day in school. I was just like, I wasn't paying attention. I was just ready to go. Like, I wanted to go to the game so bad. Like, I went to all your guys' games. Like, I mean, I really looked forward and I really enjoyed going to watch you guys play. But that game in particular, like, it was the first ever night game in Cliffside. And, I've always lived right by the high school, so I remember walking there with my friends after school, going. We were so ready to watch the game. And I know you guys lost, but it was one like the coolest experiences I've ever been in a Cliffside sporting event. So I really enjoyed that, and I could only imagine as a player like how fun and amped up you were to play that game.
Oh, it was absolutely electric. I'll never trade that moment for anything in the world. Being able to put on for home. Just like go out competing from like your entire town.
Yeah.
Like I remember everyone wrapped around the whole stadium. People standing on the track, people standing outside by the
I was one of those. I was sitting on like where the like home plate is for baseball and stuff. I was like sitting there because there was no like the bleachers were completely filled. and the track was, like, almost completely filled, so I was just I didn't really have a good view, but I just, like
I remember our sideline used to be 50 kids strong, 50 players strong,
Yep.
and on that night, I think about 500 strong. I mean, there were people just all over the site.
They were just spread out.
It was electric. For the community, I mean, it was phenomenal. It was an experience myself, as a head coach that I'll never forget, that I wouldn't trade it for anything. So all the work and the effort that went into it, it was all worth it.
Yeah,
Just for that
100%.
moment. So
Can we potentially have another one of those?
for football,
Yeah.
well, now we play those down in Richfield. So
Yeah, that's
We
right.
gotta take their light to bring it up.
yeah, exactly.
Wait, what was the game plan going into Englewood? Because they're, like, athletic in everything they do.
So it's funny because going into Englewood, we were 2-0. We had a lot of momentum. We had a great win against Ferris. We lost one of our better players in that game late. Pretty much a dynamic player for us, Justin Chevalier. And we knew we had to lean on somebody going into the game against Indian Hills. Indian Hills is a real disciplined, well coached team. And we had an outstanding performance from our offensive line, thanks to Andre and Lucas Landano. Really had a coming out party that game.
Yeah.
Really kind of put us on the map in that game, and then we carried that momentum into Englewood. And our biggest thing was we tried to hit him with a big play early.
That was one of your brightest moments.
We had to play with Lucas. As a football coach, you always think 1 or 2 plays ahead. I was kind of thinking to the following week that we could save this play for Englewood, and it worked because we set up. We ran what we called the Stampede Sweep with Lucas, get a lot of guys in space and let Lucas hit a seam and take off. But against Englewood, we hit him for an opening touchdown the first 2 plays of the game because they bit up on it, and then Lucas had an arm which nobody had seen yet, and then he hit Justin. I mean,
I remember that. I remember it was, like, on the right side of the field, right? I was right there.
I get goosebumps just thinking about it, just because I remember looking up at the stands, the top of the squares. Erupt, like hundreds of people standing there. 3 plays in. I remember the sun. I remember the exact setting. The sun was it was dusk. The sun was just setting.
How did that feel, like, when you I don't play football, but, like, I could only imagine.
Everything is loud around you. You just see it, like, everything erupt, and you're just embracing it. You're just taking it in, but you're just on go at the same time. All right, we gotta go again. We gotta wrap it up.
And that was the thing for Englewood had 2 phenomenal players, 2 kids that went off to go play Division I football. So we tried to neutralize and try to game plan around that. And that was really our biggest thing, to try to get our kids in space. And every coach says, kind of put us in the best spot possible. But it was definitely a dogfight to the last whistle.
Yeah, that was a great game. I remember that.
A couple other things here for you, Andre. So discipline, right? You spoke about discipline a little bit. Now, with discipline, do you think that's something you're born with, or is that just kind of like a story that we tell ourselves, right? Because a lot of people talk about discipline, but what does that look like to you when you hear that word discipline? What is that?
I believe everyone has a discipline, but not everyone has the control for it. I believe it's instilled into everyone naturally from just being born. Like, you get raised, you get taught by your parents. That is discipline. You're given to set rules, and you have that instilled into you, but it's up to you whether or not you control that discipline or you let yourself lack. You let yourself fall off or come back on. It's up to you to stay consistent or not. It's up to you to have the non-negotiables. It's up to you to stay strong and keep capitalizing off of what you already do.
It also comes with self-motivation too, because you gotta motivate yourself to be disciplined, because there's times when you don't want to do stuff and you just gotta force yourself to do it, and it's what motivates you that makes you want to do that.
Yeah, I mean, speaking of 2 top athletes here next to me, right? I mean, your discipline and your motivation for football, right? And you for basketball. Talk about, just what that means for both of you guys in your respective sports. I mean, for football, what's the biggest discipline you feel you need to have in football?
A big one before you get knocked in the back of the head is don't jump off sides. Don't full start. But football, it's all about the details from across the board for the receivers where you're lined up, even for the O-line if you're lined up too far ahead, D-line if you're lined up over the ball. Discipline is everything in this sport. All the little minute details, they matter. Your one false step, it matters. So staying disciplined in football across the board in every little thing that you do and every step you take and every play you try to make, it'll either cost you or it'll put you on a highlight reel.
And what would you say for basketball?
Well, from like a working out standpoint, discipline is a huge thing, and I feel like every episode I say the same thing. I repeat myself, but genuinely, like, I think to myself, like, when I'm not working out, someone else is, and that is what motivates me the most in anything in life. Not even like just basketball, like in school, like I can't even think of things, but just like that's just how my brain is wired, and that's how, like, what my parents taught me. but I just never wanna see someone else, like, outworking me like that. Like, that's just a competitor in me that, like, doesn't wanna see that. So, I'm disciplined myself from that mindset, you know?
And it's interesting you say that because even when you say that, when I wake up in the morning, sometimes like 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning, just how my body's training, like, oh, I don't feel like working out today. And I think back to these episodes and I think
Yeah.
to the way you say, like,
I don't want
you're not training. Yeah, I'm not training for a sport, but I'm doing it for myself. I'm telling myself if I'm up at 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning, I have a leg up on everybody else.
yeah.
So, my day's already
Because
set up slowly.
most people aren't, you know what I'm saying? Like, no most people aren't up 5 o'clock in the morning before,
Yeah.
especially, like, when you're in high school, like, going to school at 8 o'clock or 7:30 or whatever it is. Most kids aren't waking up at 5 in the morning to go and get a lift in or workout in, and then having to go to school, having to have that energy in school to be able to, pass all your classes, and then after school, work out again, like, it's not an easy thing for kids to do, but, that's where self-motivation and discipline comes into place, and that's what, for me, that's what, makes me wanna be able to work out all the time and just keep going, you know?
All right, so Andre, again, we want to thank you, for coming on to the Built Not Born podcast and sharing your story, right? Talking about some of your things, your mindset, and really being open and vulnerable to us, right? From what got you to this point, from again the way you started the high school career to the death of your mother, to have being homeless, sleeping in the car, right, to where you are now, right, which is on the path to success. And again, that's again true testament to you, who you are, to your mindset, to your discipline, to all the things that the Built Not Born podcast is really all about. Right? Facing adversity and then overcoming it, right? What does resiliency look like, right? So it's like when people aren't looking, what are you doing, right? And to me, that speaks to your true character. So we thank you for coming on here and sharing your story. But we'd be remiss if, we always have every guest on the episode do some rapid fire questions. So
That's
I'm
right.
gonna hit you with it real quick.
Hit it.
I'm gonna start real quick. Knicks or Spurs?
Next.
Who are you rooting for? Knicks. Okay.
Gotta
I
be
mean,
next.
really? You see Times Square?
Gotta
I mean, what?
Yeah, no.
Okay.
You seen those videos? People wearing
So
sport
I know if you were those one by
I'm not
Yannick.
gonna be one versus 500 people in that one. I'm with the 500.
All right.
Let's see. Um, what saved you first, football or discipline?
Discipline.
Mm.
Discipline 100%.
What's one thing you would tell your 15-year-old self?
Just show up.
What's your biggest motivation?
The man in the mirror.
Comfort or growth?
Growth.
What did homelessness teach you?
You gotta build her from nothing into something. You can always start from zero and go back to the top.
Early mornings or late nights?
Early mornings. Early mornings.
Yeah, I agree. What's more important, talent or consistency?
Consistency.
Film room or weight room?
I think the film room. I could talk football for hours, play by play. The breakdown is never ending.
Okay.
Is motivation overrated?
Yeah. Yeah, it's temporary.
Mm.
Legacy or success?
Legacy. Always want to make an impact.
Years from now, how do you want people to remember Andre Rivera?
The man always give back. Always put people in the position that they need to be to win. So they can be successful, so that they can carry out whatever they want to do with their lives in the best way possible.
Excellent. Andre Rivera, thank you for coming on here to Built Not Born podcast and sharing your story, and best of luck moving forward.
Thank you guys so much for having me.
Thank you, Andre.
Appreciate
Thank you.
it.